And we are live.
Great. Good evening to all of you. Welcome to the new edition of LinkedIn Live session. This one is very, very, very special for me. Uh, I'll tell you why. Long ago, about 4 years from now, I wrote a blog on LinkedIn, which was about what does it take a CIO to become a member on the board of an organization. Most debates or discussions end with the topics such as how should CIO present to the board, how should CIO engage with the board. The scenario has changed a lot in the past couple of years. Concerned with cybersecurity breaches and digital disruptions, corporate boards are installing seasoned IT leaders who can balance data protection with innovation. In fact, the number of CIOs serving on Fortune 100 boards in the past 3 years has gone up by 74%, according to a Korn Ferry study, and with good reason. 48% of board technology conversations center on cyber risk, privacy topics, while 32% are concerned with technology-enabled digital transformations. Now, I could have gone at length explaining, what's the importance of today's session. However, in the interest of time, I would immediately like to introduce our guest, whom you are seeing on the screen right now. We are in the company of a person who has spent almost 37 years of his work life, precisely all of it in just one organization. A young, fresh engineering graduate who got a break in a PSU called Bharat Heavy Electricals in 1981, left the comfort of a government, of a PSU job to join a budding organization at that time, which was a government private joint venture automobile company called Maruti Udyog Limited, now known as Maruti Suzuki Limited. And he grew in the ranks and stature to become the executive director, and then senior executive director, and then now the executive member on the board. A position so enviable, so coveted, any CIO would aspire for, if I may say so, would die for. Yes, we are talking of a mentor, of a friend, of a very reputed, very benign, very humble CIO, Rajesh Uppal, one of the industry's most accessible, learned, hands-on, humane CIOs, who besides being a CIO has played, by the way, multiple roles at numerous times, and is currently overseeing safety HR besides IT. Welcome to the show, sir. Like always, it's a pleasure to be in your company.
Thank you so much, Rahul, for such a wonderful introduction. Nice to be here with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. So let's immediately begin our conversation. Like someone asked our Prime Minister Modi once, it was a very odd question, but it was a very relevant one. Don't you get tired? It's been 37 years that you have been working. I rarely see people so punctual, so disciplined, so dedicated, so patient. For past 15, 16 years, I have been seeing you. you know how did you get all of this in you?
I think I get energy by working. I think I have two really, passions with me. One is that, unless I have work with me for maybe 16 hours a day, I don't get energy around. So I need at least work. If I don't have, then I have to generate that work for me to be busy. And also with that, I need to time to read something. Actually. So these are the two things which really give me a lot of energies to look at myself. And third of late definitely is the fitness. Now need to spend some time on yourself on fitness is the third, passion. I think with all three together, you get a lot of energies around to handle that. And again, I have a lot of good friends and well-wishers around me with a lot of support from family with me together. I still stay with my, joint family with my kids around. So together. So I think all the environments also give me a lot of energy to really work on that.
It's so positive to be in your company. I have always enjoyed that small corner conference room adjacent to where you sit. I have been explaining people tirelessly that, how even such a large stature of a person doesn't impact him sitting in a small corner of that large room. And I've always been very, very impressed by that. I mean, hats off to you.
Incidentally, right now also I'm in the same room.
Exactly, exactly. I can understand. Smriti.
Thank you, Rahul. So, I just want to know, this in this time currently, young people, old people, all of us, gun for more fame, money, power, control. And you've stayed, as Rahul said, in a single job, barring all your life with your first kid with PHEL. How do you find it so rewarding?
Uh, I think one thing very clear, lucky for me and all, the organization like Maruti Suzuki, which is very, very, agile and humble organization where they give a lot of freedom to people to work, to experiment, to do new things all together and all. I think that whole culture of, in of a Japanese culture of, keep improving things. Don't be satisfied with what you are doing. So that culture gives you a lot of freedom to work and freedom to do new things all the time, actually. I think. So that kind of culture give you a lot of opportunity to keep doing new things all the together and all. So that kind of environment really give a lot of so-called motivation to do something and all. You never, and then one thing I've seen in my career and my thinking is, if you're learning every day, that keep you motivated to really work, and learning always happen when you do more and more projects for the company, and demonstrate that our technology can help the company to look at from a efficiency standpoint, or all the parameters of efficiency together. So getting that kind of kicks of doing something new all the time, and supported very, very well by our senior management, is something which is very, very important for us. In fact, I always keep telling people around, Maruti, I've been lucky to have very, very strong mentors who have been really, taking you along in long run. Can you believe it that way back in 1983, 84, 85, when Maruti was incorporated, IT was created a business vertical. Now, today you talk about IT as a board and IT as a board member, but I think people like Mr. Bhargav had the vision in 1984 to create IT as a business vertical parallel to manufacturing or sales, or R&D and all the things. So I think that kind of recognition to IT, and that kind of focus on IT really give you a lot of opportunity to do newer things all the time, frankly. So which really give you the motivation that yes, you've done something good, that kicks you up to do something more, and keep doing that, frankly. So that's the culture which I think I've been into, which is very, very motivating and very, 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 if I say the sort word, intoxicated, then all you keep getting that kind of support to take it forward, is the way things go up.
So I think the culture of the organization, your zest to succeed, your zest of what I heard of 16 hours working a day, all put together, I think is extremely rewarding. And for everyone who's listening to us on LinkedIn Live, I think a great key takeaway for us to hear. Over to you, Rahul.
Okay, so I will break the monotony and early stages, but already questions coming in from some of our friends, common friends, our friend sitting in Gulf, Tamal Chakravarti. He's a witty guy, and he's asking a question which is as witty as him. Did you ever go for any other job interview ever in your life? If no, was it the discomfort of doing a new business the reason?
No, I think I tried many in between. I mean, like all of our friends, colleagues, you keep getting calls from all the headhunters regularly. I have attended many of them. But anyway, maybe people didn't find me worth taking it, I guess, or maybe attraction here was too high, frankly. Thanks, Tamal, for that question. But I think good thing has been, I think the journey in Maruti also has been very rewarding for me. You know, operations IT I left long back, frankly, and all, and I was more involved into strategic IT work. But along with that, I think the exposure I get in other functions, that has been very, very rewarding, frankly. I think whether it was logistic for some time, or a opportunity to build the training academy from scratch, and today it has been recognized as one of the good academy to work, which is working fine. And now the whole role of HR, which is again very complex and all. And in the current scenario, this is something become very, very important for the organization to look at that. So I think the all those support and trust of the company on me for a long time, I think has been very, very rewarding for me, at least, I think.
So, let me read a comment by one of your past colleagues, Udit Pahwa. He says, I had the pleasure of working with Upal sir in 2005, 2006. Memories are still fresh. Even after 16 years, he is a thorough professional and capable of 360-degree view of business, at the same time zooming in from the big picture right down to the transaction. So thank you, Udit, for such a compliment. Continuing our discussion, in your 37 years of working at Maruti, you have seen many shifts, both external and internal. Technology changed from a core backroom to a digital native or born digital. Then businesses changed from brick and mortar to online to omni-channel and digital. Meanwhile, there would have been in many internal shifts also, from a government dominated to a private fully owned multinational corporation. Maruti has also come a long way. So how did you keep pace with these changes? What made you evolve along with the organization?
Rahul, I think one important facet of the IT role, which I always feel around, is see, anything you can think on business and business, importance, agility, and anything on that and all. If you have that knack of that, technology will come and support you to really develop that. Technology, in most of the cases, will never be a limitation to do that and all. So my whole focus always has been, how can I support business to be successful? How can I make business to really, be winners in his function with use of technology to look at that and all. And if you have that kind of, motto and that kind of focus in your career or in your work life, I think the whether it is technology change or whether it is the whole my organization change from government to this thing around, I think if your focus is how do business value you create for the organization, which is very universal, frankly. So you are not bound by anything around and all. And if you keep thinking on that line, you will keep getting technologies which will support to do that and all, and you will keep on adopting that technology, and also keep on focusing on to really create value for that and all, and then you keep on getting newer technologies to adopt to make value mature that in the organization, and maybe keep unlearning the lot in the past to look at that and all. And frankly, in last couple of years, the kind of work we have done on customer experience part with my own marketing team driving it from the front and IT supporting them has been a very phenomenal kind of work their team has done on that. And also, the point I'm making is, if your focus in IT is always business value, in whatever environment to be and all, you will always create the value for that. Today, actually, we are driving one of the very interesting startup ecosystem program called MAIL, or recently we launched something called Mobility Challenge. Now, where we are tying up with startups and create business value for us. In fact, yesterday I was speaking to all media people on that. One very clear, people are asking me, do you have budgets for how much budget you have to do that? I said, I don't need budgets. The value it creates, pay for it within, weeks or months than really years together. So if your focus is on creating business value, so that will always get you more opportunity to work, more opportunity to create that kind of environment around you, and budget will flow and all. If your focus is single-handed on how do we improve my business further and all, I think that works in all environments, all technology ages and everything. That's always fundamental bottom line.
Excellent. Smriti.
Sorry. Uh, asking, moving to the next, there was a time in 2012, sir, if I remember correctly, where you were required to focus more on HR when a crisis struck Maruti. And besides HR, besides IT, HR became, the core area of function. Wasn't it difficult to wear two hats and, serving 20,000 employees and meeting expectations from so many stakeholders?
Uh, I think it has been a very learning experience for me, frankly. These are two very different functions around. One function which is very, have full of logics and full of, rationals and full of everything around. And one function where a lot of logics are there and all, but most of the time it is more emotions, more, people connect and those kind of things around and all. So I think it's very diverse kind of learning, which I got to do that and all. And one thing I think I can say is, uh, I have a big habit of learning all the time and all, reading books around and all. I still remember I went to logistics. First thing I started reading was a book on, how the logistics industry work, and somebody gifted me a book at the box, which I still have with me, but where, it made fundas of logistics to clear to me. HR, I think again, I read so many books in first 3 months and all to really get the whole fundamental of things around to handle that and all. So unless you prepare yourself to handle that role, I think then only you can really do justice to that role. So for me, this change was very rewarding, very learning, and maybe as a process, since I had built that habit of learning and getting the control of things around. And luckily for me, I think I have got a very good team in both areas around. IT still I have a very strong team. Similarly, I think HR have a very strong team which has been delivering a lot of work and all. Only thing that they need from me is a little bit of direction on which I want to do that and all. But I think capability wise, I have a very strong team over there also to help you to do that and all. And work on in between on the training academy which we have built. I think that I'm really proud of the work done by our team around and all. Very phenomenally work where technology can be used in learning in a big way in a manufacturing industry. That was a big rewarding area, or where whole knowledge or a academy kind of thing with technology inbuilt. How can we create value for the organization? Again, has been a very interesting and very rewarding story for me. So in nutshell, uh, new area, you prepare yourself and you will enjoy it frankly. That's the way it has been for me this journey.
So you make sounding donning of the two heads so simple that you just, as many hats as will come to you. I'm sure it will be a learning experience for your team members, which are well equipped, that you have well equipped them to do well in their respective function.
I personally remember, and I have fond memories of many things with Uppal sir. Once I was sitting with him, I was waiting for him, and he just came out of a meeting room, not at the factory premise, somewhere else. And I said that, what are you doing in this small hotel? He said that, I am screening shop floor, candidates for shop floor. I said, that's a very strange function for us, for an IT head. So he told me that, the management has actually trusted him to, do that. So not only that, I saw him creating an assembly simulation to create more efficiency and to give more productivity to the workers. So, memories have been all around. However, how difficult is it for a CIO to stake a claim to the high chair, a place in the boardroom? We generally don't see this. I mean, there are many CIOs who would claim that they report to the CEOs or are part of the company's management, but being in the boardroom is entirely difficult. How did you manage this transition? What took you to cover this distance?
I think I have 2 points on this. First and foremost is if you're working as CIO, have you created that kind of credibility with the whole the management that you mean business? You mean that you will be there justifying your role and creating, what is expected out of your IT role as a CIO. So that credibility building is the first important element for any CIO to do that and all, do that. Number two, along with that, are you working on your own brand? I mean, you're doing great job. Are you communicating that great job also to the whole outside, all your environment around to do that and all? Which is creating your own personal brand that, okay, when they look at you, they think on that, okay, this is guy who can help you to create value. This guy who can do that and all. I think my, learning from this is these are two very important elements for any CIO to have that and all. When what are you, when somebody, look at you in the organization, what do you think about you actually? Are they think about you, that guy who crips? Think about it, that guy that is something is going to help you to do something better for your organization actually. So I think important is to build your credibility, which is something which is that you have done a lot of positive work. Maybe you have failed very fast in some of the area trying to do that and all, and go on and look for something new all the time. And also along with that, have you built your brand, that what do people look at, which is a very positive brand for people of trust, people, brand of people who can rely on you. You are dependable. So if you work on your brand per se consciously, I think that will take you to the next level factor. I mean, I still remember when I got the logistics work and all, I had a very, deep conversation with my that CEO that time. Sir, I'm doing good in IT. I need something more. And then he thought around and said, okay, why can't you take this factory? So that's how the whole thing happens, because you build that credibility and the relationship and with your colleagues, with your bosses, and take it forward. Right?
So give us some lessons that you have learned to deal with multiple roles, multiple stakeholders, very complex situations. Um, you know, from a IT room, you walk into an HR room, then you walk into a meeting where you are actually helping some CSR activities. I mean, I know that you have helped set up schools for downtrodden. I know that you have helped some women polytechniques, which were like completely defunct, and then you brought them to life. You have also seeded courses in places in polytechniques so that you can create a skilled workforce for Maruti. I mean, how does that happen? What are the lessons that you have learned that you would like to share with other CIOs? Because I get baffled. I'm sure many others would get baffled too.
Uh, I think one very point which I said, let me repeat that again. You cannot be complacent on your learning, your capability around. I think your learning has to be ongoing basis, and that has to be your own DNA. That I need to keep on learning as we go along, and that's something which has to be there. I need book it with my bedside almost all the time. Frankly, I think so. That is one. Learning has to be for you a very very important and continuous journey for you as you go along. So that's the one important element for you to really work on various hats. Second important element has to be how much delegation you do to really get the work done. I've seen a lot of my colleagues getting into, and people below you love to get you into the transaction, or love to upward delegate to you to do some work around and all. I think you should know up to what detail you will go, and then delegate and authorize them to do that work, and also empower them to really, take responsibility and empower them to do that work and all. So you develop your teams who can deliver, then getting stuck into your own detailing and all, because especially in the technology age today, at your level you can't get to detail of technology at all, frankly. The variety of range will now, you should have only the sense of that technology, and you have experts below you to advise or maybe reverse mentor you on those technologies to do that, but you should know how to delegate to deliver. You cannot get into everything around that, because in that particular time, if somebody below you will do a better job of that and all, let him do that and all, then you getting into that kind of thing, so that since your portfolio is so large, you cannot get sucked into this and all. That's the point number two, which I personally feel is very big learning for me. uh, in addition to this, uh, always focus on having right people to do their job for you effectively, and give them enough empowerment, enough responsibility. But if they don't deliver, get some new people to do that and all. You should not be saying that carry baggage all the time to handle that and all. Get right people to do right jobs for you to handle that and all. You cannot get into today. Frankly, you have a lot of models of hiring available. You if you don't have regular people, you can outsource. You can get somebody from outside to do that work and all. But have a knack on getting right people to do right jobs around and on. Don't I have this team and I get everything from this team only if they're capable, not capable. It doesn't work that way anymore now. So I think third learning I have is very clearly, you should be very clearly able to understand a person and get him to do a right job from me. In fact, we were debating other day on that, how can the interview process works. I said, yeah, itni interview ho gayi hai abhi. If person walk from the outside and come and sit a seat, by the time interview is over, you know how he has come. Will he be able to fit into your attitude, your organization or not? Kind of thing, So, you should know how to get people to build, how to motivate them, what kind of attitude they have, and what kind of role will suit him and all. I think that kind of understanding you should build to do that kind of work. And last point very clearly is, one quest very clearly everybody has to have at to do level is, never be satisfied with status quo.
Wonderful.
Life, life will never be, in a steady state. If you are working for a steady state, you will come down. So if you have to look for in your life, can you go up in the ladder of the organization, whether your personal capacity or the organization efficiencies? If you don't take it up, it will definitely go down. There's nothing like steady state. So can you really focus on that and try to challenge the status quo and all and take it up to next level? If you don't do that, it will definitely come down, which will bring it down. I think you have to have that attitude to take it forward.
So just before Smriti asks the next question, our guest Gurpreet Singh is asking, please recommend some books for upcoming entrepreneurs. Gurpreet, you are not an upcoming entrepreneur, but however, I will still request Uppal sir to recommend some books for you.
Yeah, and I think my library has more than 300 books which I have read and gone through that and all. But so I think if you look at the topics around and all, you should be very clearly looking at, and I've read all kind of books around, from autobiography of good people around to management books around to technical books to look at that and all. I think maybe you need to find what suits you best. And maybe I think I can tell you Rahul has much better this and that, the kind of books he has been sharing with me in various point of time. So I'm maybe currently I'm reading book on entrepreneurship is one very interesting book which I'm going through that, and I'm forgetting the name of the author right now, and done that. In fact, one book which I always look at is one of my first chairman of Maruti, Mr. V. Krishnamurthy, has written, At the Helm. And if you read the summary of last page of that book, he has written that, such a wonderful reading. He has written his whole career on, how he went through government to building of Maruti to sale he had and all. But his management principle he has summarized in that book is so wonderful, which are is a such a high value of the entrepreneurship. Wonderful factor at the helm by Mr. V. Krishnamurthy. Even my current chairman has written a book on interestingly written on how to improve the industrialization in the country. Again, good read for everybody to have that. In fact, now my team is working on a book on HR recently. I'll share that detail very soon on that very clearly. And in fact, so I'll share you very soon when we are ready with that. Another couple of months now.
Okay, so two more points, Smriti. I'm sorry, I'm keeping you on hold. I'm in favor of more taking more questions from our friends who have joined us in this chat. So Rahul Meher, who's the managing director at Leon Consultancy, he's saying, after working in many departments at Maruti, which one department was most challenging for you?
I think IT is my passion. So that's something which is always, you enjoy doing that, So, but challenging always has been HR factory, I think, because, from a very logical for very, very this thing of IT to getting into the, HR of emotions and all, and sometimes say that I'm not built for HR kind, because you are all life on logics and work on that. But I think HR has been a very challenging work to look at that, But along with IT, the role I did for the building the training academy for Maruti, I think some of the work Rahul has seen in that while we are doing that has been very, enriching. That okay, you could create value in the traditional way of learning to a new way of learning to do that, But challenging side, I think HR has been a very challenging work to get into, and I'll still say that I'm still learning factory.
Okay, so another point, Tamal again is asking that with your IT and HR life lessons, would you also not think of writing a book?
We are writing right now, not me, but I think we are running an organization for industrial relationship right now. So I'm the chairman of the trust which is running that organization. So from a trust side, we are writing a book recently on learning for ideal HR. So hopefully that book should be out in another couple of months' time now. It's under proofreading and all kinds of things. So you will very soon see a book on that fact.
That's great, Smriti.
Thanks, Rahul. I think you were right. We should be taking questions more from these, because one of the questions which I also wanted to ask, what you just asked, is why is Mr. Uppal not writing a book on people management? Whatever I have grasped from all our conversation till now, which has been extremely dynamic and daunting. I personally suggest. I know I'm not at a position to do that for a very learned man, but yes, people management I think is required. Anyways, now coming back, coming to your journey to the boardroom, a CIO's world view, is from, we talk about strategy, operations, front office, customer, back office, supply chain. A strong understanding of managing all the outcomes is very important. So how does a board position for a CIO benefit the company?
Okay, I think important element is can you align your IT strategy with the business strategy? Now that we have been talking about a lot from beginning around and all. But being in Maruti, I think the role which they are given to IT from beginning is, as I told you, it was a business vertical which is parallel to this. So IT is always involved, whether it is board, whether it is dealer conference meeting or dealers around, or a supplier conference meeting or supplier, or a management meeting of the thing, or a business planning meetings around and all. So IT is part of every discussion of that kind of. So that is one positive side from Maruti has been that since you are involved in discussions at that level all the time, so your ability to really get right technologies at right time to implement, so that integration between business and IT, I think, becomes very possible because you are engaged at such a level of while strategy making, you are part of it. while you're doing that back-end way, you are preparing your team to take up that work and bring it out on time to deliver that strategy around. So I think that integration between business and IT comes only if IT get involved at that level of strategy making. I think that's very important and critical part to handle IT and to get into that IT to do that and all. And that's what the this board position or a recognition of IT at that level in the organization. So board position is one of them and all, but you as an organization you need to recognize IT to be at that level, and that's important for the efficient and effective adoption of IT in the organization.
Thank you, sir. Over to you, Rahul.
So, a last few questions, formal questions from my side. I can talk to you for hours and hours, and I will never get tired. But keeping your valuable time in mind, in the new age organizations, the ones which are born in the cloud, as we say, the CTO's position is a very dominant one, and automatically qualifies to get a seat in the board, whereas legacy companies don't think with that mindset. How do you suggest that this gap should be bridging? And from a CIO's point of view, what do you suggest the CIOs to do more to be heard in the organization, to be more prominent in the organization, to have a very sticky position?
Rahul, I think one thing very clear is, traditional way of doing IT. You can't continue with that factor very clearly. So your ability to understand that what does it take to deliver as you go along is very important for us. And here, I'll just take your question little, separately on this. Today, to run an IT organization, there are so many technologies and there are so many methods to do that and all. You need to get all the methods together to deliver IT together, frankly. And culturally, these methods of delivery are very different. You need different skills. You need to manage those aspirations of different skills around. You need a traditional way of running IT to run your backend systems and do that. You need a digital organization to run your new age IT and those stuff around and all. So your ability to sense this culture required, your ability to really see that the traditional way of IT will not run, but that is very essential to keep the lights on. But we have to work with a digital organization which will be getting more business value at a very short time, and that will be required to run new business opportunity which is coming in a very shortest possible time. So your ability to create those opportunities and integrate that together, because those new digital will sit on top of the existing IT, and you need to keep that people together into this to take it forward. So important that you work in this kind of environment, and ability to adjust or reorganize your IT to deliver the new age IT, which is very complex from the traditional IT one. See, the typical projects in IT used to be 3 months, 6 months, 8 months and all. Here we talk about now weeks together. So you have to deliver, say, to same user. One guy is going saying, okay, I'll give you something next week. Other guy is saying, okay, I'll give you after 6 months. Now, it's a very different kind of organizations to work it. So the point I'm making is ki your ability to understand how do you restructure yourself to be relevant and be effective in the changed environment. You need to build that kind of capability and that kind of credibility in the organization to really ensure that people recognize you. If you start running IT, so way back, around I think 7, 8 years back, I think we discussed about it. We created an innovation organization separately in IT to really do innovation part of it. Absolutely. Run a POC, fail fast, and then either implement or remove it from the agenda that this doesn't work here. But we could really build both the organization together, and now this new innovation organization is become huge. Now today this has got a tie-up with 17 startup companies are running with this now. We are adopting another maybe 7 to 8 every 6 months now into this to handle that. So the innovation not only works within the organization, you crowdsource those innovation from outside and integrate your own company together to handle that. So that kind of canvas you should be able to run and create for the organization to be effective over there. So unless you are working on that whole agenda for the business value creation, you can't be recognized in the organization to take a higher position level and all. And then if people start seeing that value, they keep recognizing you more.
No, I completely understand. And I remember this innovation organization that you're talking about, you actually hired some fresh or maybe experienced management
graduates
outside. And it was not a very conventional approach at all. And that is where, as a technology journalist or an analyst observer, that is where I see this as a very distinct approach for a legacy organization which has grown from mainframes to, has evolved in the cloud native world. So that is what has kept you very evolved and reformed. Another question coming up from a very dear friend, Vipin Kumar. He wants to know, during your growth from CIO to the board, I'm sure there would have been enough mindset issues from business teams who would have thought that maybe HR and board is not for IT. How did you manage to overcome such mindset issues in business?
Not really. I think, again, let me just tell you about how did I move from out of IT to the HR side. Very interesting. In one of the board meeting, HR presented that we need a academy to be built, and we need some X amount of money to really build a acre of land and of the classrooms and hostels and everything around, so that we can give education to our employees. And in that meeting, chairman looked at me and saying, in technology, do you need those kind of hardware to be built or those kind of buildings to be built? Why can't you work on virtual academy? And the next board meeting after a month, I presented to him that this is the way I want to do it. So that's how I got into the so-called learning area by simple, Mr. Bhargav telling me that we need a digital academy, and it gave me around 7 months where we, from a April board meeting, and December I got inaugurated from Mr. Bhargav, and he said, yes, wow, I was looking forward to it and all. We had that learning studio to train people remotely and all. We built a lot of interesting piece of software where worker can learn himself sitting in front of terminals and all. I think Rahul, you've seen that in my training academy around. So that's how I moved from this to there and all. And then after that, once you start building your credibility, start delivering and all, people start recognizing you to handle that and all. And that way, I think I have a very, very supportive and very, very learned colleagues in the team and all. I think our senior team, we are very, very close-knit team at the senior level in Maruti, which I think we keep nudging each other. We are very, close to each other to really look at each other's issues and support each other. And that way, I think IT has a very unique advantage. You cut across whole company and you work with everybody at that level, and also you have that kind of relationship with everybody to deliver. Right?
Okay, great question coming up again from Rahul Meher, and it's a very pointed question that IT is your passion. So which technology was adopted by management in single board of directors meeting, and how was your experience deploying across organization and business units, if there was any, and if you can share that?
I think way back in 2005-6, when I was pushing for the getting online dealers system to be made, I know kind of resistance I got from everybody, because it was too expensive at that time to have network of connecting all the dealers together. And we as a company was doing very well. We had an offline system where end of the day we used to get data from dealers around to work on. But I had very clear on that. I told my senior colleagues and board members at that time, sir, I know that we don't need it today, but after 5 years we will not able to live without it. Trust me that we need such a so-called expensive system to manage our dealerships at the country level.
Uh-huh.
And we did RFP. We didn't find anything in the world where a single hosted system can support so many dealerships to run their businesses. But then we got it developed ground up from our partners, and we give all the processes on that to do that. And finally, I think today, or maybe not today, when after 5 years, it was a lifeline. And today is a lifeline where, real time you get a pulse on market, what is happening around, you're taking corrective actions, you are doing. So the kind of value it created over the period of time has proven me right that, the things you never do for today. In IT, you have to plan for future five year down the line, and then start working on that with a passion to deliver that and all. I think that would be one big project which I think I still feel was my team created, my strategy team created the whole business case on that, and end of the day it is a lifeline now. And now we're taking it to next level. Now we're calling it DMS 2.0 and CRM 2.0 to next level to another. Yeah.
Okay. Another interesting question is, again, Tamal Chakravarti. uh, what is IT's cost to revenue? I mean, is there a method? Is there a formula to calculate, or what is the standard IT cost to revenue that you think is um, wise enough for the companies to choose?
See, again, this is very, very industry specific around and all. See, in our industry, which is very high turnover and all, this will not be the thing to handle that. So to me, IT has a two element of budgeting, frankly. One is basically to sustain IT, which is small part of the project to handle that, So we separate out this whole operation budget separately and the so-called innovation budget separately. And we need to really see that how much is the ratio between your operational budget and the so-called innovation budget. And the innovation budget for yours has to come with a business value along with that. So any big investment you do, you must say that, okay, for business, this is what I am going to create, or this will be the final state and all. You may not get it within the 3 months or 6 months of rollout, but you should very clear that ultimately you have to reach there as a business parameter of doing that. Maybe, so the innovation budget is something which has to be created with business value linked. And then you need to bifurcate that between the sustaining budget and the innovation budget. I think that kind of work and all, and sometime in IT it's difficult to do a payback period, but it is very important to have a final state of business you want to get into to deliver that kind of thing around it to another. Like I'll give you an example. Now we used to have almost more than 3 months of spare stock at dealerships. And then when we did this whole online dealer system, and we said we'll bring it down to less than a month. And then the kind of value we unlocked through this whole system was big enough to pay for itself actually to handle that. So I think the whole attitude of that I'm not going system live, but I am going to that value we created over there, and then within a definite period of time. And sometime while doing so, you may have to tweak your whole software or your project or your processes in between, that what you decided was not really getting that value. You need to retweak that to really deliver that value. That focus has to be on that when you do this whole so-called innovation budget of the IT and also. So I think I take that approach to really fund the IT to do that. Percentage wise, I think there are a lot of, it's very dependent on, country, where are you in, the industry you are in. So I'm sure Gartners and Forresters can give better answer to that than I can do that and all. But that's my fundamental thought on IT budgeting, frankly.
Okay, I will not hold you more. I will ask my final question and see if there are any more questions from my friends who are listening to us. But the final question, What would you advise to the seasoned CIOs and those who are aspiring to, who are the right fit to be part? I mean, what traits are required to be the right fit to be part of a company's board? How should they be dealing with the situations in a very volatile world that we are living in?
Mm, I think some of the things which I said hold good for this as a subject. Uh, Maybe I not repeat that whole issue of brand and the uh, your credibility part. But I think one thing I want you to really work on, all my colleagues, has to be uh, you should have very strong capability to connect with the business leaders. Your capability to get into his shoes and feel the feel the pain he has, and your ability to understand those businesses from a point of view of running the business or creating that running that businesses around. If you start doing that kind of talk, or that kind of language in your whole approach, you will always be seen as a business leaders. And if you are a business leader, you are recognized as a business leader, you will definitely get some role in some place and all, and to be there on that role and all. So your ability to really seen as the person who can walk into my shoes and deliver value over there and all, to seen as that kind of dependable colleague will take you to the next level, frankly. And that's my thought on this process.
Okay, a very interesting question which has come up from a friend, Akshay Kumar Sharma. He wants to ask, I mean, you have to interpret that question rightly. How difficult it would have been to migrate from a CIO position to a board or management profile in a new organization rather than the same organization, especially when you don't have management experience except for your tech profile. I mean, is there any recipe to migrate?
It's difficult among unknowns, frankly. See, again, any board will not risk on anything to really to do that, because these roles are very uh, business critical, and unless they are convinced on your capability to deliver, nobody will risk on that to handle that. And also, it's easier within the same organization or similar organization, very clear. But in a new organization, it'll be tough to build that credibility, which again comes to my first point, which I said earlier and all. How strong brand you have built of yourself within the organization and outside the organization, actually. How visible you are in that organization outside, and how when people look at you, what is first thing comes in their mind. So if you have built those credibility, I think there will be enough takers for your capabilities.
So, question again, and this is related to something which I am also a little confused about. That, do you think technology is helping 100%? Even today, consumers for many car models of Maruti still have to wait for the car to be delivered to them. Is there a correlation between the two? First of all, that, and secondly, is the technology solving that problem?
uh, you are right to some extent, because in the industry where there are long lead times for anything. A new plant you want to build take 3 years. New model you want to build take almost 2.5 3 years. So in that kind of scenario, and also with so much uncertainty into the industry today. Now today, we can produce as many cars as a chip manufacturer in Japan can make chips. The semiconductor is the issue today, not really the making the car capacity is the issue. So today, in uncertainty, the whole ecosystem required to deliver, I mean, we need to forecast 6 months from today to how many car or which color, which variant you will sell after 6 months, so that you can plan your material from tier 3 vendors to come to tier 2 to tier 1 to do that. And also it's a very complex system. And also second point is, whatever agility you make in the flexibility or agility you make in your manufacturing process, we still have very traditional, process where you can't change more than 5-10% from your plan you are done and all. And whereas, a single government policy changes everything from one to other level to handle that. So yes, technology can solve a lot of those problems around. And then we are trying to use technology for, like forecasting, modeling, that what all, parameters are there which are impacting demands and stuff like that, the variants or what kind of color choice people have. So we're trying to model everything together through a technology to look at that. We are forecasting those assumptions to really, forecast the future and plan accordingly and all. But still, I think we are still learning on those parameters and need to really perfect that art as we go along to handle it. But you are right. In the industry where the life cycles are so long, it will take time to mature such a technologies to do that and all. And we need to really be working continuously to really get to that level.
Great. I mean, we have crossed the time limit that we sought from you, and it's been extremely, extremely delighting to have a conversation, sir. I'm sorry that we are having this virtually. I have been longing to meet you in person. We'll do that very, very soon. Let the things normalize a little bit more. I see you sitting in your office, but thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for enlightening our friends, talking to our friends who are with us online. Thank you very much, and have a very nice evening, sir.
Thank you so much, Rahul. I think it has been very interesting chatting with you after a long time.
Yes.
And my request to all of you is, this is not a time really to loosen your guards. We have gone through a very, very tough time in last couple of months, and very learning. But I think sometimes a lot of feeling of helplessness in the whole pandemic time, and we don't want to see that time again. So be safe and ensure that you and your families are safe. It's not time really still to really come out of that. But my unfortunate problem is manufacturing cannot be done from home. So in manufacturing, you have to come to office to produce cars and get it dispatched and all. So, but we are trying to make sure that we work optimally from home and we mature all those processes required. And in manufacturing, I think there's a big mindset change of working from home to handle that. But we are trying to do maximum today to work from home, and only essential people should come to office. But I think my request to all of you is not time really to loosen your cards, and be safe and try to be safe, you and your family. One thing I had, important for me from HR side is let our whole employee be safe to be there and all. So today, happy to say more than 97% of our employees are all vaccinated by us. And we want to make sure that we work in a very safe environment as we go along with it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rahul. So nice.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Smriti. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rahul.
Bye-bye, sir.